In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at the tropics, which have cooled down a little bit. There is a few concerns still out there that we're going to be going over after we just had an insanely active week behind us, and the week prior definitely was a very, very interesting time. It seems like a light switch just came on. We're also going to be going over the upcoming pattern, of course, as well, talking about the storminess, the total precipitation, the temperature pattern. We're going to just roll through all of it with you guys. Now, before we do, be sure to check out our other business, Prestige Weather, in the description and pinned comment down below. It's only $5 a month, and you can get access to our early access to seasonal and monthly forecasts, as well as weekly consulting calls and other consulting services within our community. It's only $5 a month, again, in the description and pinned comment down below. Let's go over things here in the tropics. This is our 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook, and you can see we do have a code yellow, a code red, a post-tropical cyclone there over western Texas, which we're not going to talk about today. And then we do see Tropical Storm Franklin impacting the Dominican Republic. We will be going over that one in just a little bit. Let's start out with this bottom one. We do have a 10% chance of development over the next 10 days, and then over the next 48 hours, 10 days. 30% chance over the next 7 days, so we see that is going to increase slightly, but we have seen this one die down a little bit, and definitely there's some big question marks as to if this one is going to really develop or not. As we take a look here at our other disturbance to the north, this one is quite the contrary. We do have a 50% chance, so a coin flip of this one developing over the next 48 hours, so only the next 2 days. And then we have a 70% chance of development over the next 7 days. That increases pretty dramatically there. And we do see quite a high percentage chance of development from that one. So we're going to be watching this closely, obviously, as it heads northward and then even takes an eastern turn. We don't really expect this one to be any sort of a threat for the United States. But again, as we talk about the entire hurricane season, this is going to be a factor for sure. Now, as we take a look at the cone forecast here for Tropical Storm Franklin, this one's going to be wacky. We can tell it's moving slowly because these are very close together. These all indicate 12-hour increments, so when we get these close together, you know it's moving incredibly slowly, and then it spreads out here, indicating an uptick in the speed of which this storm is moving. So just to keep that in mind, when it's moving slower like this, because I saw a couple comments yesterday, that does really lead towards the ability for this storm to wiggle around. As you can see, it takes a really odd, very sharp left turn there. It is expected to remain a tropical storm through the Caribbean and actually through Friday evening. So that's going to be for most of this week. And then around Saturday morning is when we expect this one to cross into hurricane status. And it's going to remain that way until about Monday morning, which is the end of the forecast here. And that is as far as we get. We still are watching the East Coast fairly closely here. This is definitely an area to watch with this storm taking that left turn. There is somewhat of a chance of a favorable pattern over the lower 48 that could set up a little bit more chance of this storm just moving right in. But I think that honestly, this one would probably take a northeastward turn before reaching the coast is the most likely scenario. But with any system like this, we really just want to consider all possibilities, and everything is on the table at this point. So this Tropical Storm Franklin, potentially going to end up being Hurricane Franklin. We're going to watch this one daily with you guys, of course. Let's just move into the upcoming pattern where things are quiet right now. As you can see, by later this afternoon, kind of evening time here on Wednesday the 23rd, we do see a couple of storms along this jet stream kind of just moving in. We see these impacting states like the Dakotas, the Great Lakes there, and then even into the Northeast. We do still have quite a bit of monsoon activity and other areas of activity along this kind of mountainous west area. And then there is some slight amounts of activity here in the southeast, which is, again, a pretty common daily occurrence here. Definitely something to watch for. Let's just keep going. Thursday here on the 24th. We can see that for the Mid-Atlantic up through the Northeast and back through the Great Lakes there, we do have a pocket of some scattered about and isolated thunderstorms taking place. There is a weaker low taking place here in between Michigan and Ohio. This is definitely contributing to all of this, and it is going to be fairly hit or miss here. We can see a lot of areas not seeing much storminess, especially there in the Northeast. So we're going to have to watch this very closely, but there will be the chance at some storms taking place. Now, as we can see for a lot of the areas out west for the Four Corner states, the Rockies and Northern Plains, we have plenty of thunderstorms happening there. By the time we reach Friday the 25th here, we can see that there is some expanding areas of storms. As we see for the Mid-Atlantic up through the Northeast, we're getting a little bit more consistent there. Same story in the upper Midwest here into the Great Lakes. And then even for the Rockies and again, those other mountainous west areas, we have 3 main areas of storminess here. Another thing I want to draw your attention towards is the Gulf of Mexico here, where we do have a lot of storms sparking up. Very favorable water temperatures. It's mostly going to be about that shear, if we see that taking place or not. That's what we're going to be mostly watching for there. For Saturday on August 26th here, we can see that there is some isolated and scattered about storms taking place for a lot of the southeast, the mid-Atlantic, the northeast, and some areas spreading as far west as the plains. And this is going to be very, very isolated and scattered, not very widespread at all. We do see the areas near the mountains there in the Rockies and even extending into the plains as well for Nebraska, Kansas as well. These are some areas that we're watching extremely closely for some heavier thunderstorms for days to come, as you can see. For Sunday, we see these spark up once again out here in the Rockies. Outside of that, we do see some activity here for the eastern seaboard, so areas like this. And then for a lot of the upper Midwest down into the central plains. This is your tropical storm or Hurricane Franklin by this point out there, so we're going to watch what this European model does with it. We do see it curved pretty close to the coast. This is by Monday afternoon, but it's already starting to turn back towards out to sea. So that is the most likely scenario at this point. We can see isolated and scattered thunderstorms up and down the east coast from Florida to Maine there, even as you head into the plains and some of the Rockies here, as well as the upper Midwest. We see there is some pockets of scattered thunderstorms back there for those areas as well. As we reach Tuesday afternoon, we get some heavier thunderstorms near the eastern seaboard. So that is going to be a concern. We have an area of thunderstorms as well for the Great Lakes here. Let's keep going. I want to get us to the end of the model run here, and by the time we're reaching Friday, September 1st, we do get back into a little bit of a quieter pattern. There is some isolated and scattered activity there in the southeast. And then from the southwest all the way up through the northern plains, we do see some isolated thunderstorms in this pocket also. Let's take a look here at the total precipitation, and as you can see, for a lot of the northwest and for that matter, the southwest of Canada, we have some above average amounts. Obviously, the Rockies and surrounding areas seeing some of that because of just the extent of precipitation we see. And then areas for the Great Lakes and upper Midwest back down through the northeast and then take it all the way down the east coast. These areas as well dealing with some above average activity. Now the temperature pattern overall is looking warmer. We do see this big warm up take over until about the 26th, 27th. And then what we begin to see is this growing positive PNA taking place again out west. And then we get some cooler air trickling back down through the eastern end of things. So that is the main pattern that we find ourselves in for the very, very end of August here. We see things kind of stick that way until around the first, second, third time frame. And what we see is a big warm-up according to this ensemble model taking place for these eastern areas. The big question mark is we still have this positive PNA too, and I doubt we're going to see coast-to-coast warmth like this, so it's probably going to be one or the other, which draws some major question marks here in the pattern overall. I will say, though, that as we reach September 7th, you do see a cooling trend out west, maybe indicating that this more central and eastern warmer air is the more likely of the two scenarios. But only time will tell. We do upload every single day, so be sure to subscribe as we're going to go over all of this with you guys. Also, be sure to hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.